Welcome to the Influential Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Duncan, and my dream is to inspire moms to pursue their goals and help them make a difference in their world. I'm a mom of 2 young boys, a wife to my high school sweetheart, and a lawyer. This show is a place to hear stories of moms working hard to have a positive influence in their profession or their community, and sometimes both, even as they juggle their responsibilities at work, at home, and to their children. You'll get tangible, practical tips for managing the chaotic world of motherhood and work. Come along as we hear these stories and feel inspired to step outside of our comfort zone as leaders and as a positive force within our communities. I believe that moms can change the world. All right, so we're here with Sarah Baucom from Girl Tribe Co. Is that how we say this? Girl Tribe Co.
Yeah, we just also just call it Girl Tribe, but yeah, it's like whatever.
Girl Tribe.
Yeah.
Girl Tribe. And this is, she's a co-founder, and it's based in Charlotte, and she's a mom of 2 girls and a wife, and just a full spirit of energy and fun. And I'm excited to talk about your journey through starting this business and being a mom through it all. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, Sarah, and tell us about Girl Tribe and what it is first, and then we'll kind of talk about how it started.
Cool. Yeah. So Girl Tribe started in 2014. It started as a women positive graphic t-shirt company. Okay. And I started it with my co-founder, Carrie Barker, and actually we went to high school together. So that's how we know each other. And
but in high school, you didn't plan to start a business together.
No, we were not friends. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We met up years later. And yeah, so we decided to start this small little t-shirt company. We did, kind of the real origin story is that one of our buddies had a boutique. And it was one of those boutiques where you can, rent a little spot. Yeah. And she was like, I bet you guys are working on something. And we were like, yeah, we could. And she was like, do you want to sell something in this store? And we were like, yeah. And she goes, cool. And we're like, yeah, we were actually tossing this t-shirt idea around. And she goes, that's awesome. Can you get it here by next Saturday?
So you didn't have anything to sell at this point?
No.
Okay.
I had an idea and a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
And
well, that's something, right?
Yeah, it's something. And she was like, the next weekend is Small Business Saturday, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And which is made famous by American Express. And if they're listening, they can absolutely sponsor me. So they have not reached
And the podcast while they're at it. I mean, they might as well just.
Yeah, I mean, it's small business, we're here for it. And so we're like, okay, let's make it happen. And so kind of a little more backstory is I came from a retail background, and Carrie was a graphic designer. And so we were like, let's just make t-shirts. This is fun. So at the end of the day, it was we just knew what our vision was. So the brand was there before the product. So a lot of people, when they start businesses, their product comes before their brand. Carrie and I always knew that our brand was about empowering other women. And so we started off with 4 designs, and we did 12 of each design. We begged the screen printer to do the lowest ever run. So we both put $100 in the business. Okay. And it sold out that day, all 48 of them. And then we were like, that's cool. Well, let's put that money back in. Yeah, and do it again. And throughout 2015, it grew just organically. I was still working full-time in construction, actually, for my dad. I had gone back to work for my dad, and she was working full-time for herself as a graphic designer. And then later in 2015, we realized there was a need for a market that that we could actually sell our own stuff at. So it was actually kind of a selfish reason, and that's when we started Girl Tribe Pop-Up. We realized that since we didn't make our own goods, and or we weren't a vintage shop, that we were not kind of allowed to do these other pop-up markets. And I was like, yeah, pop-ups are so big in New York and LA, and kind of keeping my finger on the pulse there. And I was like, we should just do that, but really focus on boutique brands.
Yeah.
And let's do it. Let's see what happens. And so the story goes, Carrie was 30 weeks pregnant at that point, and she was like, we're not doing this. And I was like, got it. And she went away for a retreat, and like a women's retreat, and they took her phone. And so during that weekend when she was gone, I just started telling people that we were going to do it. And so she got back, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, hey, buddy, because I always call Carrie buddy. I'm like, hey, buddy, we're going to do this pop-up. We're going to call it Girl Try Pop-Up. And she was just like, okay. And that's how we work.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And so at 34 weeks pregnant, we were like taping the floors and measuring off booths. We convinced 60 vendors to do it with us. We opened the door at a brewery that was like a 6,000 square foot space. Like it was like December 9th, 2015 or whatever that Saturday was. It was perfect. Like could not, like the stars totally aligned, because, you know, a December day in North Carolina can be amazing, and you could be in shorts running. Yep. Or you can be like
snowed in.
So it was a 75-degree day. It was beautiful. We got some really amazing press. Like we got this Huffington Post article about us, and we got this, like, it was just kind of like crazy. And so people came, and it was awesome, and we were like, that was awesome. And we literally made $0, and we thought it was awesome, and we high-fived and we were like, that was awesome, okay, Carrie can go have her baby now, we can celebrate the holidays with our family. And our vendors were like, when's the next one? And we were like, really, you want to do this again?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, April? Like, because then, like, Carrie's supposed to have her baby in a couple weeks.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know,
So you got to play it around that.
Yeah, and, like, retail feels like maybe more alive in April. And they're like, yeah. And we're like, okay, cool. And that was the start of Girl Try Pop-Up. So since then, we've had 19 large-scale events, and they've grown from 60 vendor events to, like, last weekend, we took over the convention center in Charlotte. And
that is amazing.
Yeah.
So my gosh.
40,000 square feet filled with, 150 women-owned businesses. We saw 5,500 women walk through the doors during the 2 days, and so Girl Try Pop-Up's grown, and then in November 2017 we opened our storefront in Charlotte, and then we started going to different cities. So we've been to Raleigh, Greenville, South Carolina, Nashville, Atlanta, and we're looking at adding Jacksonville and Austin this year. So, but those, when we go to town, those really are dependent on like capital and interest and if the venue is right too. That's a huge deal if the venue's right. So yeah, and now we have a team of, I think there's 8 full-timers, and we have like a pretty good gaggle of store gals that are awesome. And like we just finished up, we had 5 interns for the semester. So we just like, we have a lot of people, which is kind of hilarious, that they trust me every day. They like walk in and they're like, what are we doing today? And I'm like, I don't know. Why are you listening to me? That's hilarious. But so like at the end of the day though, anything that we do, whether it's the pop-up or our store or our brand, it's always about empowering women to find their magic. So that's like our internal motto. Yeah. So having that really strong brand hopefully will continue to allow us, when we see things like a need for a pop-up or a storefront or something like that it makes sense within that brand message. And so yeah, that's what I am and who we are and what we do.
That is amazing. So when you were high-fiving each other that day and you're like, that was amazing, that was awesome, but we didn't make any money, now go have your baby. Were you high-fiving that it was awesome just because of the energy from the women who were there? Or like what made it feel awesome given that like you just didn't really know where it was going to go from there?
I think it's like whenever you do anything, and this I see a lot in people that want to maybe open a business or even like, a podcast, or just anytime you're putting yourself out there. Yeah. Especially now, we've got like social and you might see someone and they're like, I'm going to put my stake in the ground. This is what I'm going to do. This is who I am now. I'm a blogger. Yeah. I want you guys to read my blog and you share it with the world. So like that, I think that was the feeling. We were like, okay, our land is claimed. Yep. Like this is it. And this is like this was awesome. This feels, a little bit more like who we are. Yeah. Maybe we hadn't found that person yet. This feels a little bit like more who we are. This feels like this might be our land. This might be who we are. This might be how we make an impact, and also how we fulfill ourselves creatively and, hopefully financially. I heard, do you listen to How I Built This?
Yes.
NPR?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so
yes,
good.
It is good.
With Jenny Britton Bauer, who's like, I bow down.
Yes.
From Jenny's Ice Cream.
Yes.
And Guy Raz asked her, he's like, well, when you started the ice cream, did you know it was going to be this big? How would you have ever known? She was like, yeah, I did. And that was sort of it. She was like, yeah. I knew it was going to be great. And like, that's the same with us. Like, Girl Tribe doesn't exist without Carrie and me together. So that's like, like kind of when we came back together, after 10 years of like after high school or whatever, we were like, it doesn't sort of matter what we do. Like, we're going to crush it because who we are together, we're like totally yin and yang.
Yeah.
And we got something really special. Like, Carrie can, the way we work, like, I can basically say, like, I'm thinking that we're going to do this, this, and this. And Carrie's like, cool. Let me figure out how to make it happen. And she makes it happen graphically. I mean, we have bootstrapped this entire operation. I mean, when we put that $100 in 2014, that's the only money we've ever put into our pocket, ever put into our business. And like, ever.
That is
now,
amazing.
Right? And like, we've had investment. We've had all these things that kind of fell through and didn't happen. But we're always like, good thing.
Yeah.
Because we have total control, because this doesn't exist if it's not us. Like, there's magic here. And a lot of our energy sometimes is trying to unpack that. What is that? And what makes us us? To replicate it. But yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so I think it was awesome. Yeah.
I'm curious because it sounds like you were you're having to build it fast because there was such a demand for it, right? So people were like, let's do this again. And so you're like, okay, April, let's do it again. Were you getting people, whether it was friends or family or vendors, trying to give you their input into like how things should be done, or was there not that kind of noise? So it was just really like you and Carrie making the decisions.
Oh yeah, it's always just us making our decisions.
Good.
I think when you start, especially as a female, because we are more sensitive to that kind of noise, and that's a generalization, and I'm not going to be married to that comment, but whatever, I said it. And but I think it's really easy to backtrack. Wait, is this I said I was going to do this, but like, is this what I want to do? Like, I'm looking in the mirror. This doesn't really feel like it, whatever. I think it is so easy, but my personality, like, Carrie is much more sensitive than I am. And it's just, we were kind of like we're like, yeah, I mean, this might not be it. Like, Girl Tribe Pop-Up might not be the thing that makes us the money, or their product might not be the thing that makes us the money, but it kind of always came back to the brand. Like, our brand is good, and it's relevant, and it's not ever, like, it's always going to be relevant. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we always need to empower women.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, of course
I
I
love
listen.
It.
Of course I listen.
Yeah.
We listen
Yeah.
and people say, for a while when we're like, okay, well, I love your shirts, but I wish it came in plus size. And we were really honest, and we were like, I promise you, as soon as we can financially make that happen, we will do it.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to you. So there's a difference between like customer input on like what's going to improve your business, and trying to listen to that. And then there's also the noise of, are you really sure you want to do that? Or like, don't you think you're a little old for this? Or how are you doing it because you're a mom or whatever? And that can feel like it's putting you down. I never even think about that noise. It doesn't even exist to me. It's a waste of my time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and a waste of your mental energy when you could be thinking of new ideas and planning new things, like there's so much that you could be doing. Or sleeping. Taking a nap is so important.
Which is my favorite thing.
Yes, me too. So what's your dream for it now?
Yeah, that's like a great question. I mean, we're at the point where, obviously we're full-time with it. We've got a great staff. We're definitely looking at like second location for a storefront. We just bought a van. And so...
Oh, I saw that. Tell us about the van.
Yeah, so we bought the van at the end of last year because we travel a lot.
Yeah.
With the pop-ups, and we were renting these like really expensive like Penske trucks.
Mm-hmm.
If Penske also
Like a
wants
moving
to sponsor, yeah, because
Okay.
because when we moved from pop-up to pop-up, we have so much stuff, and we do big photo moments and stuff like that, and we install that all in house.
Yeah.
And or most of it in house, and we're like, well, maybe this like a it's a good way to just like we need a van. Like we can't keep using like our mom SUVs, and I can't keep, now that I have 2 kids, I can't keep taking these 2 car seats out every day. So we're like, let's buy a van. And
Because
so
we all know about the car seat situation.
right, yeah. So we were like, let's buy a van. And so it's just really funny to buy a van with someone that's not your spouse or like a car. And so we're like at the dealership, and he's like, okay, well, here's your key. Congratulations. He like shook her hand. I was like, oh, shiz, we really did that. And he like shook her hand, and we're like, he's like, okay, well, you can drive off the lot now. We're like, oh no, we both drove here. We're going to have to go take our cars home and then come back and get it, which is what we did. So we bought like we bought like the biggest Ford van that there is, so you can stand up inside of it. So the idea is that we could double it as a mobile boutique and also as a traveling.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, so that was the idea behind the van, and the van will go on a tour this summer. So that's what we're working on. And so cool. Yeah, and so hopefully, we're just partnering up with like, like-minded businesses or community events or something during the summer, and just kind of getting the word out there, hopefully selling some stuff, slinging some teas, what we do. And I'm not going to drive it, which is great.
So who's driving, Carrie?
No.
You have a driver.
Yeah, we've got my event director. I'm like, well, there's no events in the summer, so you gotta sing for your supper here. And she's like, I know. Yeah.
That's really funny. So you're still making product like T-shirts and.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then you're also doing the storefront and the pop-up. So you'll have a lot going on. Since the beginning, Carrie has had 1 child. You've had 2, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this, because I'm curious, when you were ready to start a family, how that kind of fit into the equation of what was happening with Girl Tribe.
So, when I was pregnant with our oldest, Eliza, I actually was running my first business called Social Dress Shop, which is an online boutique that I ran by myself. Mm-hmm. And that was like my first like dive into entrepreneurship. And after I had her, like I was pretty done with it about a year in. I just had totally lost passion for it, even though I was doing like just fine.
Yeah. Why do you think that was?
At the time, all I could say like out loud, like all I could really like pull out of myself was like, why don't I love this anymore? Was that I no longer wanted to sell other people's stuff.
Yeah.
That I felt like I had something to say, and that these clothes weren't saying it.
Yeah. That's a good reason.
Yeah. So when I kind of put that to bed when I was pregnant with E, but then once I had her, I was like, oh yeah. Like I kind of tried to like do a couple more photo shoots and stuff, and I was like, nah, this doesn't feel like it. And I say that a lot. Like I've been through a lot of iterations of like careers or whatever, and that just didn't feel like it. So I was like, well, it felt closer to it, but it's not it. So I was 3 months postpartum when we started Girl Tribe. And so I started it as a mom.
Yeah. Okay. And right kind of in the what I think at least is one of the hardest parts, because you're just starting to kind of get back to, a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah.
But you have a baby now. And so, did it feel like the pieces just kind of fell into place because it was like one foot in front of the other, or did it feel really chaotic?
The first one or the second one?
When you started Girl Tribe with having a 3-month-old.
Yeah, but there's this like, I can't explain it, and you may have felt this when you started your podcast, and you have a beautiful website, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
But there's this like high or like adrenaline of starting your own thing that like you can't put it down. Yeah. I'm gonna stay up all night long, and this is probably one way you and I differ, Melissa, because my guess is that you've stayed up and studied in your life. And I was always just like,
That's not true. We had college classes together.
I know, but I was always just like, It's fine. It was like starting my own business was like really the first time where I was just like, I get it.
Yeah.
This is what it feels to actually apply myself.
Yeah.
And I had never done that. Lord knows my mom tried. And and so that's how you get through those. So it wouldn't have mattered if I had 5 kids at that point. Actually, that's not true. But like, it wouldn't have mattered like kind of how old she was or if I wasn't pregnant yet or whatever. That feeling that like you're starting something and it has your name on it and it has your like blood and guts in it. Like that is just like, there's nothing like once you put your mind to that, there's like nothing that's going to stop you.
I get totally renewed and energized when I sit down to work on the podcast. It's like, I don't know. It just like opens a whole new bucket of energy that has been hiding in my body, you know, and
it's awesome.
And it's because like you said, it's, you know, kind of where the passion is. And it'll be really late into the night and I'm like, well, I should probably go to bed. But I do think I had law school kind of trained me for a little bit of the all-nighters. So, but this is way more fun. So, you know.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing about being an adult because you're like, I still like can't believe I'm an adult. Like a lot of times. Do you feel like this?
Oh, totally.
Do you
I feel like a fraud sometimes.
Same. You know, and I think Elon also messed with me because I was always so intimidated to order a drink at the bar, and I still am.
Yeah.
And like I'm like gonna be 35 this summer, and like nobody cards me anymore, which is fine because I thought Botox was helping, but I guess not that much. and I'm like, oh, can I get a like I'm still like scared to order a drink, and they're like, yes, ma'am. What would you like? I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. I'm an adult.
There we go.
They see me as an adult. It's pretty hilarious.
I know. I haven't been carded, and I don't even know how long. I don't remember the last time I was carded.
But you know what? At this point, it's almost so insulting when you get carded because you're like, you and I both know 18-year-old guy at the door.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I'm ever out. But let's say that I was. Like,
well, it's like,
both know.
I feel like they're just trying to make me feel better at that point. Like, this poor lady, like, I'm just going to card her.
Or do you ever get them, they're like, you make a joke, like I make like a dad joke about it, you know, and I'm like, oh, I bet you need my ID. And they're like, oh, well, we have to card everyone.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you don't.
I'm like, rude, but I guess I set myself up for that.
Yeah.
So that's on me. I could have just been quiet, but that's not who I am.
So tell me, what has been the most difficult part of parenting while running a business for you?
The most difficult part. You know, I talked to my therapist about this, who is awesome, and every entrepreneur should have one. Mm-hmm. It's a great business expense. It's really hard at the end of the day, especially the energy that we have in our company.
Yeah.
I mean, we are on fire all the time. And it's so fun that we have this much stuff that like, sometimes it's like amazing to me that my inbox is full. And I'm like, oh my God, this many people want to talk to me? Like, definitely, I totally fooled them.
No.
But like all my girls, they're all super busy. A really hard part for me personally is coming down from that energy and going back to my kids' level. Yeah. So like going from these like high level marketing discussions where we're talking about, you know, I don't know. I don't have a business degree either, but let's say like we said the word ROI or whatever in a meeting. But like, you know, and then you come home and you've been spouting ideas all day. I'm like sitting on a desk, like, you know, I'm in that Josh Hartnett movie from like 2004. Yeah. I mean, I wear fun clothes. Like we're all just like so fun. We have neon signs and candles burning and it's just hilarious. And I come home and I've got these 2 beautiful little girls and all of a sudden my daughter's like, will you push me on the swing? That is a really hard transition for me every day to come back from that energy where I feel so much like me to finding the other me. And you don't, there's not a slow burn there. It's a quick transition. Yeah. And that transition is something that I'm really working on because that transition is when I make a mistake as a parent where I snap too quickly. I told you stop. I told you that I'm talking to daddy right now. Yeah. You know, and do you know what I mean? Those moments are my toughest as a parent. And I it's hard to know. Like, would I feel like that same way if I worked somewhere else? But I kind of do feel though that like if I was in a job where maybe I was like less energized every day or less kind of dedicated, I could check out at 5. And maybe that's not true. I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, devil's advocate, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I wonder sometimes, because I'm always like, oh, if the bank wants to give me a job, it like pays me a lot more money than I'm making right now, like whatever. But I think about like, I physically thinking about someone turning their monitor off and then turning it back on in the beginning of the next day.
Yep.
And I'm like, that doesn't happen. However, I also don't work at nighttime.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anymore. The second kid totally crushed that.
Yeah.
First kid,
it does
make
it harder. Yes,
you can't do it. Yeah. So that transition time every day is the hardest. From having a physical retail storefront, when we first opened, I worked a lot, and and surprisingly, not surprisingly, I'm just joking, I'm our best salesman. And I love being in the store. Yeah, I love being in the store. I love connecting with people. I love hearing them. Like, I love the whole experience. My mom owned a toy store growing up.
Oh, fun.
And so I worked in the back of a toy store for like my whole life. I love being in a toy store. I loved it. That was such a great experience. I love retail. I love retail. I love the whole thing. When I had baby Jules, I knew no longer was that fair to do that on the weekends, and so I don't work the weekends anymore. That's hard too, it's like kind of like putting the apron up, a little bit like, okay, well, that's hard too. It's
yeah.
Cause
well, and it's like, that's your other child. I mean, my husband and I started a law firm, and that was like our first baby in a way. Like, we started this business and poured so much into it as far as our time and energy. And so that was like another one of our children almost. And so it's like you are kind of putting away one of your children, so to speak, for a weekend to be with, obviously, your human children, but it's hard because you're kind of having to let control of that go and to be fully present with your kid, your 2 girls.
Right.
To shut that off, the business side of things, and not be there and not be engaged with it and just be present is really hard. So yeah.
It's so hard, but I also give myself a lot of grace in the situation where I think everyone is so distracted nowadays.
Yep.
And like,
it's just part of life.
Like, yeah, it's just like iPhones, right? Like, we all feel super duper busy. And do you ever like look back on the last year of your life, or like maybe when you went from 1 kid to 2 and you look back at 1 and you were like, how did I think that was so hard?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yes.
And so, but I get the feeling that like moms aren't the only, or parents in general aren't the only people that feel that way.
Yeah.
I think we're all just so busy and so distracted often that it just feels like we're always running from the next thing. And that it always feels like you can't put something down, and when you do, it's not succeeding. I think there's this like weird success, I don't know, it's like paradigm or something right now, where it feels like if like the light's not on all night long and you're not working at it all day long, it's not going to succeed.
Yeah.
I think there's this really kind of like, and I don't want to say it's unhealthy because like, who am I to say that? But I do kind of feel like that, especially in the startup world. It's like if you're not cranking it out, people are all constantly asking us like, how do you do it and have kids? And we're like, I don't know. I mean, you kind of do it all. Like, there's no option. But we chose this life, so like, don't feel bad for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You picked it and you walked into it. And I
chose to have children. I chose like this whole thing. Nobody just handed me a child. Although that would have been a lot easier than pregnancy.
I was going to say that might have been preferable. Hey friends, popping into this fun episode to remind you to take a quick second to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, you can also sign up for bonus episodes and content from my monthly newsletter at melissaduncan.com/join. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the show. Well, before we started, I feel like a good time for the story. So before we hit record, you were telling me about your out of office reply that was your second
kid, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
During maternity leave. So will you tell that story now that we're recording?
Yeah. So I had my baby June 5th, 2000. What is it? 2019 now? It was 2018. Definitely when she was born.
Yeah.
Poor second kid. Poor
I know.
second kid with that birth date.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's hard.
My gosh. But she's definitely 2018. So she was born June 2015, and I guess the royal baby was a couple weeks before. And I don't even know the third one's name. Is it Henry?
Louis. I think it's Louis.
Louis. No, you're right. So Louis was born a couple weeks before. So anyway, setting the stage. So I put my out of office reply because I was like, people probably do out of office, like, you know, real adults with like real corporate jobs and stuff. And I was like, sorry if I can't get back to your email for a few days. Like, I just had a baby. And here's a picture of us coming out of the hospital. And so I just posted like a picture of Kate with the red dress on and holding, I guess, baby Louis. And it got amazing engagement.
I love
that. For an out of office. If I could get like the Google team just to like scour the internet and let me know that I was like one of the highest engagement for out of office in 2018.
I'm sure that you were.
Yeah.
That's really funny. That is so funny. So you were talking about making that the transition, you know, and like it's not a slow burn, like it's a quick transition that you have to make to leave the high energy of Girl Tribe and, you know, the work that you're doing, and then come home where the pace is completely different. Your kids' energy levels are different. Where do you fit? Well, first of all, I guess, what are you doing to try to manage that transition, and how else do you incorporate self-care into your schedule? Because I hear from moms that that's one of the hardest things for them to find time for in the midst of working and motherhood and all of that stuff.
Oh man, I wish I could say that like I stick to like, I mean, every January 1st, I'm like, I'm going to have one massage a month, or I'm going to whatever. But I will say things that I always have done. My hair is always done. My nails are always done.
Yeah.
But that's like kind of part of the job too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I actually do that much, but I also we're at the stage where like things are growing and they're so fun that I step away every once in a while, but not that often.
Yeah.
And I'm like totally fine with that. It's not crushing me.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's a very healthy kind of, like it's a healthy pressure that you feel from it, because it's really energizing you. You know, like if you were leaving and it had just like completely sucked you dry of any energy that you would have left over for your kids, but that's not it. Like you actually still have, it's energizing you. And so I think where I think you're taking care of yourself, but where really more intense self-care is important is when women feel like it's crushing them in a way, you know, like the pressure.
I mean, I guess like, you know, going to therapy is definitely part of it. You know?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's like, and it's also nice is that Carrie and I go to the same therapist, and sometimes we go together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and sometimes we go together so we can make sure that our lines of communication are completely clear, because we are different people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like that definitely helps, and that's when I can really work it out. I'll also say like, you know, there's just not a lot of physical time that I can take for myself. For instance, like I used to teach yoga, like in my earlier 20s, like I taught yoga for a while, and I see yoga people around and they're like, why don't you come back and practice or whatever? And I'm like, I really don't have the time. And they're like, come on. And I'm like, no, I really don't have the time, because I choose not to have that time.
Yeah.
Because like my watch is about to ding, and it tells me, it's like, if you'd like to get this amount of sleep, you need to go to bed right now. And I'm like, okay, watch. And then I do it, and I fall asleep.
That's good.
And so like for me right this second, as I am on May 2nd, 2019, working out at 5 a.m. doesn't fit with what I need to do for self-care.
Yeah.
So there's some like main decisions like that, you know, and like I don't really, like right now, because things are so hectic, I don't give myself a hard time about maybe eating lunch out every single day. I mean, honestly, I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner out every single day. I never cook. I'm sorry, nobody. Probably my kids are like, they have no idea what a home cooked meal is, but like,
that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I think that's okay too. And I think I treat myself little bits here and there. But I actually don't put that much pressure on self-care either.
Yeah.
I try to give myself, I don't know. I think it's really a trending thing, and I think it's awesome. And I think you should take care of yourself. Absolutely. But my therapist does a lot of that for me. And also, if you can't notice, I am an extrovert, and I process like by talking.
Yeah.
And if I talk something to death, then I'm done with it.
Yeah.
So that helps too.
Yeah.
It just sucks if you're around me.
No, I love it. But I had Brooklyn Decker on.
Yeah. Have you heard of her? Do you know?
Yeah. Do you know
I'm just kidding. She's super famous. She's from Matthews.
Yeah. Well, so we went to high school together.
Yeah. Wait, what high school was that?
East Meck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I was a senior and she was a freshman, and then she actually ended up going to Butler.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
But you didn't meet Andy Roddick in high school. You met Damon, who is lovely.
Who's lovely.
Who's lovely, and it's
But
all
he's not
turned out.
Andy Roddick.
He's not Andy Roddick. Did you talk? I haven't listened to that episode. Did you talk to her about? Did she still do that closet thing?
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
what we talked. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's called Your Finery.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And it's amazing. The whole concept is so amazing that they were able to put this thing together. But one thing she said when I asked her kind of a similar question, like, you're so busy, and, you and Andy together are so busy, and they have 2 little kids. And she was like, I don't really feel like I have to do a lot of self-care. And she said, it's okay to be in a season of like work and life where you're grinding, and like, that's okay. It doesn't have to be like you're in the season where you're totally zen and, you're like everything is in balance and all of that kind of stuff. And I really appreciated that perspective. So it's kind of like what you're saying, that, it's okay to just be in a season where like there's not a lot of time for self-care, and that's okay as long as you feel well. And
yeah, Brooklyn and we've definitely.
You were totally on the same.
We're like
wavelength.
the same person.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's that, like, it's kind of like that thing. It's like you don't want to be that hustle all the time where you will burn out, because you will burn out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what's the other option? You're in your 30s. You chose to do this business. You chose to have children. Like, your mortgage is going to be higher than you'd like for it to be. Childcare is really expensive. Like, you don't put dinner on the table every night, but people sort of eat anyway. And you're just sort of like making it happen.
Yep.
But I personally, like, I'm from kind of a pretty chaotic family. I'm the youngest of 5.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and like my siblings are like much older than me. My sister's 20 years older than me. I mean, there was always people coming out of the house. Like, my family is huge and loud and crazy, families. And I don't know. I don't know if it just kind of feels normal for me, or I've just kind of learned how to, knock on wood, thrive in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's comforting to know that it's not always going to be like that. And you're talking about like the 50-year-old women that like work in your office, or have you worked with before, and what's like probably the one thing they say to you? Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy it while it's here. So yeah, it's totally crazy, and yeah, I might like snap at my kid. Well, like, I don't want to push you right now. Like, you don't understand. Like, I have this thing in my head and I've got to whatever. But like, what's the other option?
Yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
super quiet. Like, oof, I don't want that.
No, I know.
If it's one or the other, I don't know.
There was one Mother's Day when Damon was like, well, I'll just take the boys out, because we have 2 boys. And, he was like, I'll take the boys out early in the morning and you can just sleep in. And they went out and, I don't know, running errands or whatever. And I woke up, I thought, okay, this will be nice. Like, I'll drink my coffee and read or watch TV or, do something. I lasted like 10 minutes and I called them and I was like, it's too quiet. Please come home. Because it was just it was like uncomfortably quiet in our house. And I thought, for all the times that I'm like, oh, if I just had some peace and quiet, when I finally had it, I was like, I don't want this.
What am I going to do with this?
Like, this is no fun.
The other day we were at Easter lunch at my parents' house, and Eliza was like, okay, I want to spend the night at Grandma's house. And I looked at her and I was like, no, honey, we're going home.
Yeah.
And she's like, I really want to spend the night here. I mean, like, also my mom had so many desserts in the house. So like, get you, little girl.
Yeah.
But it made my mom feel really good. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, we don't even have clothes for you. Like, okay, well, yeah. And I'm not even that super planned of a mom. Like, I don't carry a diaper bag around, like, because it's like, I'm not going to let that weigh me down. I like my bags, and like, that's not it. But like, I was just like, okay, well, I don't have this stuff for you. And it kind of like took my breath away a little bit, like the moment, because it was the first fall moment where she actually chose to do something else than to come home with us, or, you know.
Yeah.
And we get in the car and we have the baby with us, and it was like the night that like Game of Thrones was like, you know, airing for the, and Ryan's like, Sarah, this is a good thing. The baby's the easy one to get to sleep. We're going to be able to watch this in real time. And like, this is awesome. And I was like, well, it's fine. I just kind of feel like this is what it's going to feel like when we drop her off for college. Oh. And he's like, she's 4. You know, like, we've got some time.
She's at grandma's. It's fine.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah. But then we got home, and it was also really weird just to have one kid there.
Yeah. Yeah, you forget what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I take one of my boys out alone, I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, sorry, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, it's good, though. Like, these are good problems to have, you know?
For sure. Yeah. And free help is the best.
Yeah, exactly. So as we wrap up, and because I'm sure your watch is about to ding and tell you to go to bed. So what would you say? So I was like, when I was reading your bio on the website, it says,
oh my God, that needs to be updated so bad.
Oh, well,
will you update that for me? I think we've got extra time.
Sure. We'll just, we're good.
I'm really good at delegating.
I'm on it. So, but there's one question at the end, and it says, we ultimately want to ask ourselves, what are our legacies? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious how you answer that question right now. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. I think of legacy in like a post-mortem kind of thing. Posthumously? How do you say that?
Posthumously.
You got it.
Yeah.
I say things audibly how they're spelled. It's like why I say dachshund. Like, and I know it's wrong, but it's dachshund. Okay, it's fine. I have a college degree. We have the same college degree.
It's okay.
Can you believe it? They handed it to both of us.
Well, that's okay. You might be right. I don't know.
I mean, that sounds good.
It's like anyways, tomato.
Yeah, like, you know, it's kind of that selfish thing. It's like, what are people going to say about me at my funeral, which is already planned. Mm-hmm. And the music isn't everything. So, you know, it's a little bit of that, right? Like, so what am I actually doing?
Yeah.
And, like, what am I really doing every single day? And that's why our mission statement has been so integral to, we talk about our mission statement every single day. We are going to fearlessly empower women to find their magic. So what does that mean? What is that actually going to mean when I'm done here? What is that going to mean? What are my girls going to know that I did? Yeah. And that is just like, isn't that just like, chills up your spine a little bit?
Yeah, it did just give me chills when you said that.
What are we actually going to be known for?
Yeah.
You know, I think like at the end of the day, it's like I just want to be known as someone that. A long time ago, I heard a guy called one of my coworkers at the time. I was working for the ballet in Charlotte, and he said, "You know what's so great about her? She's just so full of grace." And I remember, because I was like a 21-year-old jerk, you know, at the time. Mm-hmm. Just like so entitled, and I just looked at him, and my whole body sunk into myself, and I remember thinking, I don't know anybody that would describe me as that behind my back. And I thought about that, and I've carried that moment with me for just such a long time. Who would actually say that about me? I want to give other people chances, and that's what Girl Tribe is all about. I want to, you know, I know that I'm loud, and I know that those are my like skills, or that's like my characteristics. I know that I'm loud, and I know that I'm opinionated, and I know that I'm fearless. And so like, how can I use those things to better other people?
Yeah.
And if I make money at it while I'm doing it, well then yeah, I'm going to, because like I deserve to do that too. Just like you deserve to, you know, have your career and use your skill set that you were given, or that you created, and, you know, that kind of thing. So that's like a really long answer, but I think it's just, you know, I'm here for the ladies, you know?
Yeah.
And when people ask us like, why did we initially find this like empowering message? Why do we gravitate towards it? Why do we want to empower other women? it's because Carrie and I were searching for empowerment.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
so we found that by empowering other people. We found that by giving it, that we were also getting it back.
Yeah.
And that's universal. So I hope that
absolutely.
lives on after me. And so I'm just kind of working towards that.
You know, I think what you said about, like, you know, what do you want your girls to know that you know, the impact that you made and the legacy that you left, for them to see you working so hard and, you know, pouring yourself into the business, you want it to mean something, you know, because, I mean, I think as parents, we see, you know, we're making sacrifices all around every day. And if we're going to be away from our family, like, we want it to mean something, you know, and it not just be.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that everybody has to be going to a job that is like, you know, saving the world kind of thing. I mean, the bank tellers and, you know, those are all good jobs too, you know, too. And, and those people can make a difference to the people that come to their window or whatever. So I think everybody has a way to make an impact. It's just how they approach their work. But I think as moms, we have to remember that in the back of our minds, like, you know, for all the energy and time we're putting into our work, it needs to mean something for our kids later on.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I also like, again, like I don't feel like I'm missing out on my kids' lives by being at work.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
You know, yeah.
And I'm like, a much better mom because I work.
Exactly. I am too, because that's who I'm meant to be.
Yep.
You know, but like if my life was slower, or not slower, that's the wrong word. You know, like say my stay-at-home mom buddies, like, they're just like, they hustle like all day long, every day.
Yeah.
And selfishly, like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And the great thing about being an entrepreneur is, and I know that I'm lucky in this, and I've worked to be this lucky. So like, I also want to like give myself grace on that.
Yeah.
But like tomorrow is beginner's day at my daughter's kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And like, let's say I did work for a corporate job and I couldn't take another day off. Well, like, either we couldn't go, or I had to take her back to school, to her school that she goes to now afterwards. But like, I'm like, no, we're going to kick it all day. I'm going to take the light rail. We're going to go get hot dogs, like, you know, whatever. And like, I'm allowed to do that, you know, like my husband and I were like, let's go out of town. And so we booked a plane ticket today for 2 weeks from now for like 4 days. So it's like, that's like the awesome thing of it all. So yeah, this last weekend when we had our pop-up, like I was on the news at 8 a.m. on Thursday morning, and I didn't see my kids until Monday morning.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, is that like kind of sucky? It is, but like I was really focused, and I also am very much to the thought process of like, do my male counterparts even think like that? No. You know, how many people do you know that like work at Accenture or something and they're gone Monday through Thursday and they never see their kids anyway? Like, I only have to do that a couple times a year, but I don't have to do it. Like, I get to do it. It's my job.
You get to do it. Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I invented it. I could have told people no, but I told them yes.
Yeah, and you had the baby, you know, like
yeah. And so like I've chosen all this, and I'm pretty comfortable in my decisions, and I hope that women are able to become more comfortable in their decisions. I mean, I have to work, you know, I'm not, there's no like great fund behind me. If there was, that'd be fine. I would totally quit in a heartbeat. But, and I'd encourage my husband to as well.
You could be a princess.
If I could be a princess or like own an island or whatever, but I like wouldn't want to be outside a lot. Anyways.
A hut. One of those Tahitian huts.
I would be in the type of hut that like, do you remember Twilight when they got married? And they go to this like ridiculous place that
yes.
like, I'm like, okay. So anyways.
Yes.
I hope that like leading by example and just being like super confident in who I am and the fact that I work and that I don't even make a deal out of it. Yeah, I work. Yeah, I have kids. It's all crazy. It's all fun. It's all sad. It's all amazing. Like, it just is what it is. This is who I am. And yeah, my girls are going to see me work really hard. I watch my parents work really hard. I watch my dad still work really hard. He owns his own business too. I never thought anything of it. When my mom started her toy store when I was in second grade, my mom went from being a stay-at-home mom to a full-time entrepreneur working the store every single day. Wow. And I went in with her every single day. And do you know what I thought? This is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's Toy Store. You know, if she'd opened like a library, I definitely would have been down with that. But like, that was awesome. And I mean, yeah, there'd be times where I'd be like, can we go home yet? Or, you know, I'd steal like $5 from the like drawer to go get like an Annie Ann's pretzel or whatever. But like, cause like I did not understand how that worked. But like, that's just like, that's how I grew up. Like, why? Yeah. I don't know. What was the difference? They're fine.
Yeah. I love it. And they are. And they're I think they're probably better off for it, you know, that.
Yeah. They're like hilarious they're hilarious little people. And it's so funny when I ask Eliza, I'm like, Eliza, what does mommy do? And she's like, mommy sells cookies. And I'm like, see, you don't even know what's going on. Like, this is like, see, we, like all of us moms, we have so much guilt about this whole thing. And she's just like, I mean, I've seen you give cookies to people before. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you know, that was like for sponsors, you know, like I got like custom cookies made. Like I know the memory that you have.
Yeah.
And she's like, and that's your store and that's your office and these are your employees, but it's also different for her because like my employees are like 25-year-old girls and everyone's still pretty close and it's a tight-knit team and so she's like, but like also sometimes they babysit me. So she's like, I don't know. Who knows what she would think if I worked at a bank. She'd also probably go to like a public or private school, you know. But anyways, that's the difference.
That's really funny. Well, it sounds like she's just happy with what she thinks that you do. So don't correct her. You know, just let her think that you sell cookies.
She's totally fine.
I love that.
And the baby's gonna be totally fine too.
I love it. So as we wrap up, any parting words for moms out there who are in this stage of life that we're in with little ones and business or work, any kind of last little nugget that you want them to walk away with?
I think just like the biggest challenge that we have is in our minds.
Ooh,
I mean, there's definitely the financial burden of having a child and I can't work that out for you, but and there are those sacrifices like it just is what it is. Like financially, it just is what it is. Like that's the tangible, right? Like I can say like all day long, like find your voice and be yourself and like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything, lady, unless like I can pay my bills. Like I get it. I totally get it. And like, there are times where like, even the last, like, because Carrie and I had to pay taxes and we're an S corp and it's a flow through and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So
we got one of those too with a law firm. Oh, it's terrible.
It's like, okay, are you sure? Sure. But then you're like, well, it's awesome that I can pay taxes because I made money last year, whatever. But that also means that like, I like to keep the company at a certain threshold and, like working capital. And so I didn't pay ourselves distributions for like 8 weeks. And, so like, I get it. Like I get sacrifice, I get the financial burden of it, but like also it's like you've got to find that place in your mind that like, am I doing the right thing? You know, like can I change it if I am not happy? And I think that feels so big sometimes, especially when you have little kids and you are run down and like, especially when they get older and they're just like talking back or they're talking all the time and you're like, I can't have a thought and I just need a moment. That is so hard. All those things are so hard and there's no getting around how hard that is. No matter what your kid is and who they are and whatever, that is so hard. But there's got to be a place where you can find happiness in like just the now of it. And I just see so many women that, I don't know if they're like struggling, that's like the wrong word, but you got to find your people too. You got to find the people that are like, that will like uplift you, that are your peers too. Like that's been huge. Yeah. So I don't know if I have any imparting wisdom. I think it's all hard. It's all hard, but like you also have the power to change it if it is that hard.
So can you tell everybody where to find you and Girl Tribe and if they need to buy a ticket for something, what they need to buy a ticket for?
Totally. So our products and our online store live at girltribeco.com. That's because Girl Tribe was taken. Okay. Oh. So like, you know, domain fights. I know. Yeah. So it's girltribeco.com and you can find us in Charlotte. We're on Camden. We're actually right by the Jenny's Ice Cream, which is awesome, and right on the light rail, which is an adventure every day. Yes. And if you want to learn more about like our pop-ups and how to be a vendor or how to be an attendee, it's at girltribepopup.com. And yeah, that's kind of who we are and what we do. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This is fun. So I'll link to all of that so people can find you, and we'll have to maybe do this again in a year or so and get an update on Girl Tribe and Becky the van.
And my island
And
that
your island.
they used.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
like in the vampire movie.
Yes.
Perfect.
Very good. Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in for another inspiring episode of the Influential Motherhood podcast. Be sure to follow my own journey in motherhood and work at Melissa Duncan JD on Instagram, and follow the behind the scenes of the podcast at Influential Motherhood on Instagram and Facebook. If you're enjoying the Influential Motherhood podcast, please take a second to leave a rating or review in iTunes. It is how you can help other moms find the show so they can be inspired by these stories. See you next week.